Okay. All right. Okay, sorry for that. All right. Where were we? All right. So we attended to the three economic questions where we said this: what to produce, how to produce, and for whom to produce. So the only correct answer there is going to be B. And then we go to 1.5, production efficiency refers to a situation whereby. So production efficiency, when we are talking.
Sorry, sir. Is it what is the correct answer on 1.4?
1.4.
What's the correct answer in 1.4?
B is B. For whom should it be produced? B, for whom it should be.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, cool. So when we are talking in terms of our production possibility curve, remember that bell-shaped curve, right? We're saying that if you are producing on the production possibility curve, you are called an efficient country. If you are producing within the production possibility curve, you are inefficient, and then you cannot produce outside the production possibility curve because of what? Because of scarcity. Therefore, when you are producing on the production possibility curve like this, for you to be able to enjoy a different bundle of good X and good Y on the production possibility curve, it means that you have to sacrifice some of the benefits that you were gaining. So for you to be able to gain more of good Y, you have to sacrifice some of good X. That is what we term production efficiency. So from the answers that we have, it says more of one good can be produced with additional resources. No, that's not the answer. More of one good can be produced by increasing the production of another good. That is incorrect. More of one good can only be produced by decreasing the production of another good. That is what we call production efficiency, whereby for you to increase production of maize, you have to decrease production of computers. You have to decrease production of the other good that you were producing for you to increase the other. Okay. Question number 6. The circular flow of income and expenditure shows how. Okay, the circular flow of income and expenditure. I'm sure you've studied it in your notes, where you are saying that you've got households on the other side, and then you've got your what? You've got your friends on the other side.
I'm sorry, I didn't get the answer for 1.5.
It was C.
Okay, thanks.
1.5. It was C. More of one good can only be produced by decreasing the production of another good. Okay. So if you are now looking at the circular flow of income, we said that there are what? The households on one end, and then there are firms on the what? On the other hand, and then there is flow of income that is happening. So what usually happens in the circular flow of income is we say that the households are going to be earning some income, some wages, some interest, and etc., right? While the firms are going to be enjoying some money that the households are what? Are spending, right, in the circular flow of income. Whereas the goods and services flow the opposite side, where from the firms to the households, we see that there are some goods and services that are being produced by the firms, and then from the households to the firms, we see that there are some resources, some land and some labor that you are seeing that is being produced by the what? By the households. So if you look at the answers that we now have, let's see, what does the answer say? It says that the circular flow of income and expenditure shows that, number one, money is created by producing goods and services. Then number two, income is generated from producing goods and services. Then number three, income is spent on the consumption of goods and services. So definitely income is spent on the what? On the consumption of goods and services. And this one, income is also generated from the production of goods, because when they produce goods and services, they're going to sell those goods and services to the households, and they're going to earn an income from selling those goods and services to the households, right? And then that income is going to be spent by the households on the same goods and services that they've produced. So our answer becomes D, 2, and 3. Okay, 1.7, in the factor market, right? Again, we are looking at the what? At the circular flow of income, where you've got households and firms on the other hand. They operate through the what? They operate through the circular. They operate through the circular market, through the factor market and the goods market. In the factor market, you are selling your labor, you're selling your land to earn some income. And then in the goods market, the firms are selling the goods and services that they have produced in order for them to what? To earn some revenue. So in the factor market, households are sellers. That is actually very true. Because in the factor market, households are selling their land, they are selling their labor, they are selling their capital, and they are selling their entrepreneurial skills. So A is going to be our answer for 1.7. And then you go to 1.8. Which of the following best explains the concept of demand? Now, the concept of demand is explained by two major issues. You have to be willing and able to buy something. You have to be willing and able to buy for it to be considered as what is demand. So there's to be willingness, and then there's to be what? There's to be ability of someone to do that. So our answer should encompass the willingness and the ability of someone to do something. So number one, the amount of goods and services that consumers purchase. No, that is not demand. Demand has to do with willingness and ability. Even if you don't make the purchase, as long as you are willing and able, right, you are part of what we call demand. So the purchase is not the answer. Then I want to jump answer B and go to the other ones, right? Answer C, the amount of goods and services consumers are able to buy, which is correct, but there is no willingness that has been talked about, which means that answer is incorrect. Then D, the amount of goods and services consumers are willing to buy, which is correct, but there is no ability that has been talked about. Therefore, that is not our answer. Therefore, our answer should be B. Why am I saying the answer is B? It says that the amount of goods and services that consumers plan to purchase, not purchase, but plan to purchase. For you to plan to purchase something, you have to be willing to buy it, and you have to be able to buy it, because you cannot plan when you don't have the resources, right? You cannot plan to do something when you don't want to do it. So the fact that you are planning to do it means that you are both willing and you are able. Therefore, our answer for 1.8 is going to be B. Okay, we go to 1.9. Which of the following? Yes, if you say D, you'll be incorrect, because there has to be two issues. Both willingness and ability should be there, both of them. It cannot be one thing. If it's one thing, then it's wrong. There has to be both of them, the willingness and the ability of an individual. Okay, then 1.9. Which of the following will not result in a shift of the demand curve for coffee? Which of the following will not result in a shift of the demand curve for coffee? Now, when you are looking at the shift of the demand curve, you are looking at the determinants of demand, right? The common mistake that most students make is that they include price. Price is not a determinant of demand. A change, an increase or a decrease in the price of a commodity leads to a change in the quantity demanded of a commodity, not the demand, not a shift of the demand curve. So be very careful about that. All right. So our answer here, which of the following will not result in a shift of the demand curve? A change in the price of coffee, which is wrong because we said price does not affect a shift in the demand, right? B, a change in the number of households that consume coffee. Oh, sorry. I think I misinterpreted something here. Which of the following will not result? It's not, sorry, I missed that. The answer says not result, which means all of the other answers will result in a shift of the demand curve, but this one should not result in a shift of the demand curve. The answer is actually a change in the price of coffee, because a change in the price of coffee will result in a movement along the demand curve, right? It will result in a movement along the demand curve, not a shift, right? All the other answers will lead to a shift in the demand curve. A change in the number of households will result in an increase in demand or a decrease in demand. A change in the price of substitutes for coffee will result in an increase in demand or a decrease in demand. A change in the income of consumers of coffee will result in an increase in demand or a decrease in demand. So the answer is A, is the only one that does not result in a shift in the demand curve for coffee. I hope that's clear. Okay. 1.10. Which of the following will result in a change in the quantity supplied for coffee? Now, again, you are looking at the wording of the question. Now, the last question said a change in the demand or a shift in the demand, but they're now talking about a change in the quantity supplied for coffee. So this should actually be price now, because price is what usually results in a change in quantity supply. But let's go through the answers and see what we have. A price, the price of alternative products in production, that will actually shift the supply curve. The expected future prices of coffee, that will shift the supply curve. The state of technology available for coffee producing, that will shift the supply curve. The price of coffee. So our answer is D. The price of coffee, a change, whether it is an increase or a decrease in the price of coffee, will lead to a movement along the supply curve, which changes the quantity supplied for coffee. Then we go to number 11. The following will result in a definite increase in equilibrium price and decrease in equilibrium quantity. The following would definitely lead to a definite 1.10 was D, the price of coffee. D, the price of coffee. Okay. The following will result in a definite increase in equilibrium price and decrease in equilibrium quantity. Definite increase in equilibrium price and decrease in equilibrium quantity. So these questions now, it depends with how you want to do it. You can go into the theoretical aspects of it and try to claim some of the theory, or you can also just try to draw some of the demand curves and see which of the answers are correct. Now, in terms of the theory, that's a study module issue. But I just want to show you something that you can do in the exam if you are stuck on a question that looks like this. So what you can basically do is you can You can draw your demand curve, right? Your demand curve over here. And then you can try out the answers that you have been provided. So the answer that you want, it says here, will lead to a definite increase in equilibrium price and a decrease in equilibrium quantity. So you want the price to to increase, right? You want the price to increase from what it was over here, and you want the quantity to decrease from what it was over here. So you can basically just try out some of the answers and see which of the answers best suits you, best suits the question. So it says A, an increase in demand and supply. So if you increase both demand and increase supply, that will not lead to a definite. Why do I say so? Is you can see here, if we want to illustrate it on the graph, right? You can see increase in demand, increase in supply. So you can see definitely the quantity is going to increase over here. So that's not going to be that's not going to be our answer, because we want a decrease in equilibrium quantity. And then you can try the second one, a decrease in demand and in supply, a decrease in demand and in supply. So if you're going to decrease your demand over here, and you're also going to decrease your supply over here, you're also going to decrease your supply over here. You can definitely see, yes, there was a decrease in quantity, but also there was here like a decrease in the what? In the price. So definitely this answer is also wrong. And then you go to the next one, C, you can also check it out. An increase in demand and a decrease in supply. So here it's saying that the demand has increased, but the supply has decreased. So you can come here, increase in demand, decrease in supply. And you can still see that there is an option where the quantity is still higher, or it is still increased. So definitely again wrong. So our answer is going to be D, none of the above. But for questions like this one, like I said, you can go into study module and get the actual theory behind, you can try to claim it out, right? And say, if this and this happens, then this happens. If this and this happens, then this happens. If this and this happens, then this happens. Or alternatively, you can just draw out the curves as you are provided them and see which of the answers actually suits what you have from the answer sheet. Okay, so the answer for 1.11 is going to be D. Okay, and then we'll go to 12. In order for the minimum wage to be effective, okay, what do they mean by that? In order for the minimum wage to be effective? Now, the government puts a minimum wage. When they put a minimum wage, the idea is they want to increase the salaries or the welfare of the citizens of a country. So for it to be effective, we are saying that it should increase the salaries of the workers. So if you put a minimum wage and the salaries don't increase, then it is not It is not effective. So the concept that we are going to apply for such a question is we're basically going to apply again the demand curves and the and the supply curves. And we're saying that we are at a particular equilibrium over here, right? And we're saying that we are going to introduce a minimum wage. Now, if we introduce a minimum wage means the smallest wage that you can pay someone that is below the equilibrium. It simply means that no one will do anything because people are already earning above the equilibrium. Therefore, if the minimum wage is below the equilibrium, the suppliers of labor are happy, the demanders of labor are happy, so the price will not change. So that will not be that will not be effective. But if we put a minimum wage that is above the market equilibrium, this means that this is the minimum wage by law, which means that if you are not paying this much, you have to increase your wage to that much. So if the equilibrium is below the minimum wage, it forces the demanders for labor, the companies, to increase the wage rate to match the minimum wage. Therefore, it becomes It becomes effective. So from the answers that we have over here, it must be fixed below the equilibrium wage. We said that is wrong. It must be fixed above the equilibrium price, and we say that should be that should be our answer. That is the effective minimum wage for the government to set. And then we go to 1.3. So 12, the answer is B. Okay. The answer is no, it's not C, it's B. C says it must be equal. It doesn't change anything. It's not effective. It doesn't change anything. The objective of a minimum wage is to increase the salaries of the poor. That is the objective of a minimum wage. So if you're going to put a minimum wage that is equal or less to the equilibrium, you're doing nothing. It's like you have not put any minimum wage at all. So you have to put it above so that the salaries can increase. So the answer is B. Okay. Then number 13, when quantity demanded equals to 0, okay. when the quantity demanded is equals to 0, price elasticity all right. If we go to the concept of price elasticity, right? I'm sure you once drew this curve over here, where it says that at the center, it's a unitary, right? Which is 1. Somewhere here, it's elastic, which is greater than 1. Here at the top, it's perfectly elastic, which is infinity. Then here, somewhere here, it's going to be inelastic, which is less than 1. Then here at the bottom, it's perfectly inelastic, perfectly inelastic, which is 0, perfectly inelastic, which is 0. So the answer says when quantity demanded is 0. So quantity demanded is 0 here. This is where quantity demanded is 0. So we go up to the demand curve and we get that it should be infinity, which is C. The answer is C, infinity. So it's coming from the theory of what? Of price elasticity of demand, where you're saying what is the elasticity of demand on a stationary demand curve, where you're starting like at the top, like I said, at the top, it's perfectly elastic, and then it loses its elasticity as it goes down. So it's from perfectly elastic, unitary, inelastic, to perfectly inelastic. That's the theory that you're going to use to answer the question. So it says when quantity demanded is 0. So when quantity demanded is 0, therefore you are right at the what? You are right at the top of the curve where you have your infinity. So for 13, answer for 13 is going to be infinity, which is C. Someone is asking answer for what? For 12. For 12, we said it's B above. For 12, we said it's B above, okay? All right, let's see. Number 14, is this where we are? Okay, good. Number 14, okay, let's see. What does 14 say? The price of shortbread biscuits increased by 25%. It was noted that demand for them decreased by 40%. The type of price elasticity of demand observed here for shortbread is. So again, this is theoretical. You need to understand some theory for elasticity, right? But in short, we are saying that if something is elastic or if something is price elastic, we are saying that the change in price leads to a disproportionate or a larger change in quantity demanded. But when something is inelastic, we say the change in price leads to a less than proportionate change in quantity demanded. So we're saying that here the price was 25%, but it led to a huge 40%. Therefore, the answer should be what? Should be elastic demand. The answer is elastic demand. Now, the way you calculate, you can even calculate it if you want. When you're calculating price elasticity, you're basically just saying the change in quantity demanded over the change in price, which is 40% divided by 25%. And if your answer is greater than 1, then it is elastic. Or if your answer is less than 1, then it is inelastic. So if you say 40 divided by 25, you're going to get 1 point something, which is greater than 1. Therefore, it is what is elastic, again, just from the theory that we've just explained. So your answer is going to be D for number 14. Okay. Then number 15, the following will increase the price elasticity of demand for a product. The following will increase the price elasticity of demand for a product, right? Number 1, a broader definition of market. Number 2, an increase in the proportion of income spent on the product. Number 3, an increase in the substitutes available for the product. Okay, let's see from our answers which answer could be correct. Okay, so let me just take my pen here and explain a few concepts. So this one over here, this one I think it's obvious to everyone who has done a bit of studying of economics. So we're basically saying that if you have got a product that is substitutes, for example, let's look, for example, what example can I give you guys? Of a product. Yeah, let's say you want to buy a car, right? So you can either buy a Volvo, you can either buy a Toyota, you can either buy, you see, you have a lot of substitutes in terms of what? In terms of your choices. So when you have a lot of substitutes in terms of your choices, if one of the choices is expensive, you are likely to forgo it for a cheaper choice, right? So an increase in the number of substitutes means that if the supplier increases their price, right, therefore the consumers will stop buying from that supplier and choose the substitute product. Therefore, number 3 definitely will increase the price elasticity of a product. Now, number 2 is incorrect. Why is number 2 incorrect over here? The proportion of money you spend. Is this correct? Am I saying incorrect? Just hold on. An increase in the proportion of money spent on, no. It's actually correct also. Number 3 is also correct. All right, I'll explain. An increase in the proportion of income spent on the product. So if you are going to spend, if you have a salary of 1,000, right, and you're going to spend 5 rand on something, right, if the price changes to 6 rand, you are likely going to continue purchasing it, right, because you are only spending 1% of your salary on that specific thing. But if you are getting 1,000 rand and you want to spend something that is what? That is 500 rand, that is 50% of your salary. If the price increases to 600 rand, you are likely going to stop purchasing it. So as the proportion of income increases that you spend on a particular good, therefore the price elasticity will also increase, which means number 2 is also what? Is also correct. Then number 1 says a broad definition of the market. A broad definition of the market simply means what are you considering as the market? So again, as you increase the broad definition of the market, elasticity increases. Why? Because the number of substitutes increase as you increase the broad definition of the market. Remember the example that we gave for cars. Right? So if you increase the broad definition and you say, no, when I talk about cars, I'm not just talking about sedans. I'm also talking about pickup trucks. I'm also talking about taxis. I'm also talking about motorbikes. Therefore, as you increase the number of substitutes available to the consumer, the elasticity will also increase. So all 3 of these will lead to an increase in the price elasticity of demand, giving us the answer of D. So number 15, the answer is D. Okay. Number 16, economic profit is equal to. Economic profit is equal to. So in economics, there's what we call normal profit, economic profit, there are what you call explicit cost, implicit cost, and etc. So this is the theory that you're going to, I'm sure you did your production costs. This is the theory that you're going to use to answer this specific question. Okay. So number 1 says normal profit plus accounting profit, normal profit plus accounting profit. This is wrong. Now, the reason why this is wrong is that normal profit and accounting profit are more or less the same thing. So for you to be able to get normal profit, you're simply taking what your revenue less your what? Less your explicit costs. That is how you're going to get your what? Your accounting profit. And that is actually how you're going to get your normal profit, right? Then economic profit, sorry, next one, total revenue less implicit costs. Now, this question over here, I'm going to leave you with, sorry. I think I removed my chat. Okay. So this question over here, there are 2 aspects of this question. I could be wrong over here, I could be right. I'm not 100% sure what my answer would exactly be like, but I'll explain my rationale now. Economic profit should be total revenue less total costs. Total costs include both implicit and explicit costs. Because of that, B is going to be wrong, because B only includes implicit costs but does not talk anything about explicit costs, and that is why I believe B is wrong. Therefore, if A is wrong and B is wrong, C cannot be correct. Then our answer becomes D, none of the above. So in essence, the definition of economic profit is total cost, total revenue less total costs, where total costs include both implicit and explicit costs. Okay. So for 1.16, the answer is going to be, what is it? D. It's going to be D. None of the above is what is correct. Okay. Then we go to number 17. Okay. The number of additional units of output produced by adding one additional unit of a variable input is referred to. Again, we're under the topic of production costs and etc. So this should be marginal, right? But the question, is it marginal cost or is it marginal product? Because remember, we're saying that additional over additional. That's what? That's marginal. What that you're talking, it's not average. Average is total over the quantity or total over the output. But marginal is additional when we are saying if there is something, we're talking about adding something, right? So I think the additional units of output produced by adding one unit of the variable input. Therefore, this is marginal product. If they had said the additional cost, right, from producing an additional output, right, we would have said marginal cost. But because here it's our output from a variable input, this is marginal product. Our answer is going to be B. Okay, number 18. In figure 1, the firm makes an economic loss, but continue to produce at which price? So this is, you are trying to illustrate what we say, the shutdown position of a firm. So we're saying that, should we continue operating or should we shut down our firm? Now, when we are making losses in the long run, we will shut down the firm no matter what. But if we are making losses in the short run, this is where the question comes in now. This is where we try to see, if we're making losses in the short run, when should we shut down? At what price should we shut down? So the diagram is very, very small here. My apologies. For 17, we said it's B, marginal product. Okay. Just give me a second. I'm trying to increase the font so that you can clearly see the little diagram over here. Okay. So that we explain to each other what the shutdown position is. Okay, I think it's a bit clearer now. Okay, let me take my pen. Okay. So we've got a range of prices here, and we want to see which of these prices should we shut down. So P1, right? So at P1, we are saying we're producing Q1, right? Right? So remember, we're now saying that P is the price, the revenue that we're going to get, less the what? The average cost over here, right? And we're going to see here, P here, average cost here, and P2. So we are going to be making a profit over here. So we cannot shut down if we are making a what? If we are making a profit. So definitely P1 is not going to be our answer. Then we look at P2 over here. P2, let's assess P2. So P2, we come here at point number D, right? We produce Q units over here. So our price here is P2, right? And minus the cost, the average cost here, we come here, we pick it up, it's again P2. So here It's P2 minus P2, which is equals to what? To 0 economic profit. Therefore, at point D, we are making 0 economic profit, or what we know as normal profit. So we don't shut down when we are making normal profit. We continue in business. So P2 cannot be the answer, okay? And then we go to what? To P3 over here, okay? So at P3, we go here at point C, and then at point C over here, we're producing Q2. So at Q2, what is going to be our price? Our price is P3, right? And our, sorry, just give me a second. All right, yeah, our average cost. So our average cost, we go up over there, we go to P2, and then we see that we are making a loss over here. This is the loss that we're making. So at this stage now, like I highlighted, if this is the long run, we close operations. But if this is not the long run, if it is the short run, we now assess. Now we assess using the average variable cost if we're in the short run. As long as we are above the average variable cost, we still continue operating. So are we above the average variable cost? Yes, at P3, we are still above the average variable cost. Now, we go to what? To P4. At P4, at point B, right? We see what we're producing over here, right? And we see that here, we are exactly at the average cost. So we might choose to continue operating, or we might choose to shut down. It's really up to you, to the situation that is on the ground. So P4, there is a question mark on P4 here. We just put a what? A question mark. But definitely at what? At P5, we're saying that you are below the average variable cost. So as long as you are below the average variable cost, you have to shut down your what? You have to shut down your operations. Now let's go back to our answers now. If there is a P5, then that's definitely our answer. But if there's no P5 and there's P4, then like I said, it's a question mark. You can shut down in P4, although you can still continue what? You can still continue operating. So let's check our answers and see what options do we have. We have a what? We have a P5. So our answer is going to be D, P5. Why? The rationale that you are using is that as long as you are producing above the average variable cost in terms of your pricing, you are okay in the short run. But if you are below the average variable cost, you close down. Like, remember, this only applies to the short run. Don't make that mistake. If it's in the long run, you close down. But if it's in the short run, you can apply this theory. And then question number 19, which of the following firms can earn economic profits in the long run? So who can earn economic profits in the long run? Perfect competition, no, they cannot earn economic profits in the long run. Why? Because other firms will see the profits, will enter in because there are no barriers to entry. Monopolistic competition, no, they cannot earn economic profits in the long run. Why? Because again, other firms can enter in because there are no barriers to entry. Monopoly, yes, a monopoly can earn profits in the long run, right? Why? Because it can what? There are barriers to entry, hence no one can take away their what? Their market share or their profits. 18 is D. For 18 is D. Then for 19, the answer becomes B, monopoly. That is the answer. And then you see the last question for this one. Okay. Yeah. Then question number 20. In a kinged demand curve model of an oligopoly, profit maximization is determined by what? Profit maximization is determined by what? Now, the rule for profit maximization is MC is equals to MR. That is the rule for profit maximization. The marginal cost and the marginal revenue should equal. That is the rule for profit maximization, regardless of which market you are operating in. Now, if you are in perfect competition, you can also use price is equals to P to MC, but P is equals to MC is the same as MC is equals to what? To MR. But for monopolistic competition, for monopoly and for oligopoly, price is equals to MC is incorrect. It is not the correct answer. I need to rectify that. It is not it is only correct in perfect competition. Right. The correct answer is always MC is equals to MR. Because of that, I would choose answer number D, none of the above. But for those of you that go on and do advanced economics, answer number A, which says marginal cost is equals to marginal benefit, might actually be correct. That is for those that do advanced economics at an advanced level. But for your level, I think the safest option is to choose answer number D, none of the above. Because the B is very incorrect, C is very, very incorrect. Then A, I checked your study module, I didn't see where you talked about that. So I don't think this applies to your level, guys. But to a certain level, it could be correct to say marginal cost is cost to marginal benefit, because it's just another term that they use for MC and MR. But I would say the safest option, let's choose number D. So this is the end of this specific paper. The other part is theory. We're not going to do that because I know that you're not going to be getting some theory in your exam unless your lecturer tries to be a surprise, but I don't think so. I don't think you're going to do any theory in your exam. So we still have got 30 minutes. I think we can do another one. Okay, let me see which one we can do. We said D, none of the above. All right. So let me post this on the chat so that you can quickly see it, and then we can do this one also. Okay. All right. Today. Okay, save. Okay, let me just share this on the chat so that you can do it. Okay. All right, I've sent it on the chat. So this was November 2019 paper. So we're just going to do the multiple choice questions again for this one and see the type of questions that he was asking. Okay. All right. Okay. All right, 30 minutes, I think we can finish. Okay, 1.1. Opportunity cost refers to, this is a definition. I'm sure this is straightforward for everyone. The cost of the best alternative forgone, the value of the best alternative forgone. So it's a tricky question. Yes, it's a very tricky question. But the definition of opportunity cost is the value of the next best alternative forgone when you make a choice, which means our answer is going to be B. 1.1 is going to be not the cost, but the value of the next best alternative that has been forgone when you are making a choice. So 1.2, okay, points beyond. It will likely be 25 questions to the person who's asking. It will be 25 more.
Sorry, sir.
It's likely.
Sorry.
Yes, Nari.
What's the answer for question 1.1, please?
1.1 is B, the value of the best alternative forgone. The value of the best alternative forgone. Okay. 1.2. Points beyond the production possibility frontier are inefficient, efficient, negative, none of the above. So this is you can try to represent it on a diagram if you want to try to understand the concepts, right? So remember, you've got your PPC curve, but I think I've already explained this to you guys. So I said, if you're producing within the PPC curve, right? This is point A within the PPC curve. We said this is inefficient, right? This is inefficient, right? And then if you're producing on the PPC line, here on the PPC line, so let's say over here and call it point B, this is efficient, right? And then if you are producing beyond the PPC line here, point C, this is not possible. This is what? This is not possible, right? So from the answers that we are provided here, the answer is actually none of the above, because inefficient is represented by point A, efficient is represented by point B, then negative, there's nothing that you can talk about here where we say it's negative. We don't even talk about negative, right? So the answer is none of the above. Another question that they can ask you is, what does point C represent? Point C represents what? Scarcity, because it is beyond, it is not possible. And then they can give you here maybe a point D over here and say, what does movement from point D to point B represent? It represents a choice. It represents opportunity cost. That is what that is happening on that specific market. All right. So let's go to the next question. So our answer is going to be D, none of the above. That is the answer that we are going to put for question number 2. Okay. Question number 3. When production takes place on points on the production possibility frontier, we refer to this as, right, on the production possibility frontier, right here, where we said efficiency from our last question. What does this represent from the answers? Economic growth is wrong. Improved production technique is wrong. Full employment, that is going to be our answer. That I'll explain, right? So when we say efficient, we are saying we are using all the resources that we have as an economy to produce the goods and services, which means nothing is lying idle, which means that everything is employed, all the labor is employed, all the capital is employed, all the entrepreneurial resources are employed, all the land is employed. So see full employment. Economic growth, we say economic growth here. This is an increase in the PPC. Improved production technique, this is what we call a swivel in the what? In the PPC. And then none of the above, of course, is wrong. So our answer over here is full employment. Why? Because we are producing on the PPC curve. Okay. 1.4, secondary factors of production include, right? Secondary factors of production. So they're what we call primary factors of production and what we call secondary factors of production. Primary factors of production include the land that you're going to use and the labor that you're going to use. Secondary factors of production are the capital that you're going to employ and the entrepreneurial skills that you're going to use. So A, capital, correct. B, entrepreneurship, correct. C, all of the above, correct. D is wrong. So our answer, we're going to use all of the above because it includes both the entrepreneurial and the capital. And the capital that is being used by the firm. All right. Someone wants me to share the paper again. So just give me a second. I'll just share it again right now. Okay, I've shared it. You can check in the chat. Okay. So 1.3, we said full employment, C, full employment. And then 1.4, we said C, all of the above. So for 1.3 and 1.4, it is C. Okay. Let's go to 1.5. Okay. In the goods market, the following are traded. Now, in the goods market, we find the households and the firms. The households provide goods and services, and the firms purchase the goods and services. So from our answers, it then becomes B, goods and services. Factors of production are in the factor market, but goods and services are found in the what? In the goods market. So our answer for 1.5 is going to be B. 1.4, we said it was C, all of the above. Okay. Then 1.6, that's where we are. The following are buyers in the factor market. Now, in the factor market, you find that the households own the land, own the labor, and they are selling it to the what? To the firms. So the firms are the ones that are buying the land, buying the capital, buying the labor from the households. So the firms are the buyers of the factor market. From the answers, there's nothing that says firms. So the answer is D, none of the above, because the households are what? Are suppliers or are sellers in the factor market. Okay, maybe. You can put government. Yeah. So this one is a bit tricky. So this one is tricky again. This one is a bit tricky. You can put government if you want. You can put government. You can also put government. Because what I'm trying to think was the government does buy labor in the factor market. The government does buy labor in the factor market. So they can also be a buyer in the factor market. So yeah, I think you can also put government here. But predominantly the buyer of the factor market is the firm. That's the answer that I would recommend, the firm. So I would recommend putting answer number D, but if you are not sure about my answer, you can also think about answer number D. There is certain correctness to it because the government does buy labor in the factor market. They do buy labor in the factor market. So it could be correct. Okay. All right, 1.7. A movement along a demand curve. Yes, the government spends, but they do get labor from the factor market. So they're going to buy labor from the factor market. They're going to pay for labor in the factor market. That's why I say that B could also be the correct answer. So it's either B or a D. It's really up to you how you see some of these things, it's either yellow there. But I would assume B is actually a very correct answer. But I would personally prefer D, but I would think B would also be a correct answer. Okay. Then 1.7, a movement along a demand curve illustrates, right? So we're back to supply and what? To supply and demand. So you've got your demand curve here, and you're saying a movement along. So if you move along the demand curve, remember what I said, when you're moving along the demand curve, you're talking about the price. But when you're shifting the demand curve, whether you're going to the left or you're going to the right, you're talking about the determinant of demand. So a movement along the demand curve illustrates a change in the price of, right? A change in the quantity demanded. Yes, that's correct. All of the above. So my answer is actually going to be C, all of the above, right? Because when you're moving along the demand curve, let me show you as an example. So we start here, right? We've got 10 units over here and 7 over here. And then we shift here. So we move from point A and we go to point B over here, right? That's a movement along the demand curve, right? So you can see here that the price is moved from 7 to 6, and the quantity probably is moved from 11 to 10 or something like that. So both the price is changed and the quantity demanded is changed. So all of the above. However, be careful. Make sure if you're going to put this answer, make sure that there is this quantity over here. If it had said a change in demand without quantity over here, it could have been wrong for A. It could have been completely wrong. But because it says a change in quantity demanded, we can definitely say A is correct, and then a change in price, B is correct. Therefore, our answer is going to be what? C, all of the above, because both A and B are correct. Okay, for 1.7, the answer is going to be C, all of the above. Okay. 1.8, a price set above the equilibrium price will result in a what, right? A price set above the what? The equilibrium price. Again, you're going to draw your what? Your demand curves and your what? And your supply curves. So you want to see what is your what? What is your equilibrium over here? So you've got your price over here. Let's say 7 or P. They usually like using P and Q. And then you've got your quantity over here, which is what? Which is, let's say, 20. That is your quantity. So if we set a price above the equilibrium price, let's say we come here and say we want to put it at 10, all right, which is above. So what is going to happen? Remember, this is your demand curve, and this is your what? This is your supply curve. So we come over here at 10 and we go and touch the demand curve to get what will be demanded in the market. So we go down over here and we see that at 10 price, we are only going to demand 10. Right? But how much will be supplied by the suppliers? So we go to the supply curve, right? See the supply curve over here, and we go down to the quantity supply, and we see here that maybe they are now supplying 30. So they are supplying 30, but only 10 is being demanded. And what is that? That is excess supply within a what? Within a market. So when what was the question? So let's go back to the question. A price set above the equilibrium price will result in A. You say shortage, it is wrong. A decrease in the price level. Okay, I've got a question mark over this one. An increase over the price level, which is wrong. None of the above, which I assume should be correct. But let's relook at this answer over here, which says a decrease in the equilibrium price. So the normal answer that you should, for a question like this one, is that it will result in a market surplus. That is the normal answer. It should result in a market surplus, right? A price above the equilibrium results in a market surplus. However, when there is a market surplus, right? When there is a market surplus, what is going to happen? The suppliers are going to what? To have excess supply in their stores. So in order for them to what? To sell more, they are going to reduce or they are going to decrease their prices until it comes back to the what? To the equilibrium. That's why I said you can put a question mark on here where it says a decrease in the price level. It now depends with how you've interpreted the particular question. Although, like I said, the answer is market surplus. Therefore, I would definitely prefer answer number D, which says none of the above, because there's nothing here about what? About market surplus, right? However, at a certain rationale, if you had to explain it, yes, when there is a market surplus that has been created, the automatic thing that will likely happen is the suppliers will reduce their what? Their price. So if it had said that what will happen, the suppliers will reduce their prices, I would have loved that answer very, very much.
A market shortage.
Sorry? Hello? Hello? All right, sorry. So if they had said that the suppliers would reduce their prices, I would have loved that answer. But a decrease in the price level, it's a bit shaky. It's a very shaky answer. Yeah, it's a very shaky answer. I'm like 10% I support it, but 90% I don't support it. I would prefer D, none of the above, because the answer should have been market surplus. You can even see if you go down here, there's one that actually says market surplus over here. That's the answer, the preferable answer for a question like this one. But you know, sometimes these lecturers can set up question papers that are interesting, so that you don't get 100%. Okay. 1.9, a leftward shift of the supply curve can be caused by what? So you have to identify when the supply curve shifts to the left. When the supply curve shifts to the left, right? What actually happens? So all right, let's just draw this one so that we are all have our bearings correctly. So this is our supply curve, right? Upward sloping. So it shifts to the left. So it goes what? This side, right? That's the left. So this is a what? A decline in supply. Why do we say it's a decline? With at the same price, you get what? You get less supply. So shift to the left is a what? Is a decline in supply. So let's look at the answers. A leftward shift of the supply curve can be caused by an increase in the price level. That is very, very wrong, because price does not affect the supply curve. It affects the quantity supplied. Then B, a decrease in the price level of production unit inputs. So if the price level of production inputs reduces, it means that the cost of production for the firm is going to go down. If the cost of production goes down, the firm will produce more. That is a rightward shift. So B is incorrect. Then C, decrease in price level. Again, we don't even talk about prices here. So again, incorrect. D, none of the above. So our answer for 1.9 is D, none of the above. Okay. Okay. When demand and supply increase, this results in a what? Interesting. Where are we? Sorry. When demand and supply increase, this would result in a, okay. So like I said, you can either try to draw the diagrams out yourself, or you can use some theory. You can try to use some theory to answer the question. So in terms of questions like this, where they are changing demand and supply, changing supply and demand, the theory that we usually use is that we say that if both demand and supply move in the same direction, right? If they move in the same direction, then the price, there is a question mark on the price. You are not sure what will happen to the price, but the quantity is definite. So if both supply and demand increase, the quantity will increase, but the price you are unsure. If both supply and demand decrease, the price is uncertain, but the quantity will decline. So if they move in the same direction, unsure about the price, but sure about the quantity. But if they move in the opposite direction now, you are unsure about the quantity, but sure about the price. Okay. So there's a bit of theory there that you will need to actually read. If in your study module, you just need to what? To read that theory. But now let's answer our question. When demand and supply increases, so we said from our theory, if they're moving in the same direction, we said that what? Our price is not definite, but our quantity is definite. And if they are both increasing, therefore our quantity is going to increase. So it says B, a definite increase in the equilibrium quantity, which is actually going to be our answer. That is, our answer is B. Again, like I said, you can also do some drawings. You can also do some drawings to just help you out. You can also do some drawings. Let's see if I can just draw here. You can also do some drawings to just help you out. Well, I know drawings are usually very straightforward. They don't lie to you. When demand and supply increases. So we're saying that there's been an increase in demand over here and an increase in supply. And therefore, we say that if our quantity was here, therefore, our quantity is what? Is definitely increased over here. And there's definitely increase. So there's a definite increase in the what? In the equilibrium quantity. But sometimes it can get very confusing. So also I would advise you just read up on the theory a little bit. Just read up on the theory a little bit. It will help you maneuver your way around it. But your backup, you can draw the diagrams. You can do trial and error on the diagrams to make sure that you get the correct answer. But our answer over here is going to be a definite increase in equilibrium quantity, right? Definite increase in equilibrium quantity. But the price, we are not sure about the price. We are not sure what will happen about the price. Okay. 11, a price ceiling above the equilibrium price will cause, right? So again, you're back to your supply and your demand, right? You've got your demand curve and you've got your supply curve, and you put a what? A price ceiling. Price ceiling is the maximum price, right? Maximum price. So if we're saying the maximum price is below the equilibrium price, which means that the prices should go down, right? Maximum price below, the prices should go down. But if the maximum price is above, therefore the prices will not what? Will not change. So a price ceiling above the equilibrium price will not result in any of these things. It's actually just none of the above. Why? Because it is already above what we are charging. We are saying that you cannot charge 20 Rand, but you are already charging 14 Rand. So what you are going to do? You're just going to ignore it because it doesn't affect you. So none of the above. And then we go to question number 12. Price elasticity of demand increases down a straight line demand curve. No, that is wrong. Remember what I said, it decreases. It starts at what? It starts at infinity and then goes to what? To elastic, which is greater than 1, and then goes to unitary, which is 1, and then goes to inelastic, which is less than 1, and then goes to perfectly inelastic, which is what? Which is 0. Which is 0. So it cannot increase right down a straight line demand curve. That is wrong. Decreases down a straight line demand curve. That is actually the correct answer, which is B. If you've got a straight line demand curve, the price elasticity of demand will be declining as you go down the straight line demand curve. All right. I don't think we'll be able to finish all of this, but let's see where we get to in 6 minutes. Okay. The type of price elasticity. I see someone is lost. For question number 12, we said it decreases down a straight line demand curve, which is D. Then for question number 11, we said none of the above, which is D. I hope that answers everyone. Okay. Then we go to, where were we? 13. The price elasticity of demand depicted in the picture. We've got a picture over here. All right. So we'll go back to what? To diagrams, right? So when you're doing price elasticity of demand, I've given you figures, right? Where I said infinity, perfectly elastic, greater than 1, elastic, 1, unitary, less than 1, inelastic, and 0, perfectly inelastic, right? So we are now going to go to diagrams. Now, if it is a normal slope like this, we call it usually unitary demand, right? We usually call it unitary, although it's very interesting, but we usually call it unitary. If it is almost straighter, very, very steep like this, we call it elastic demand, right? We call it elastic demand, right? And then if it is almost flat like this, we call it what? Inelastic demand. Therefore, if it is very flat, it's perfectly inelastic, right? And if it is very horizontal, very steep, it's perfectly elastic. Therefore, this curve that we've been given over here, it is very horizontal. Therefore, it is a perfectly inelastic demand curve, a perfectly inelastic demand curve, perfectly inelastic, which is going to be what? Which is going to be A. If it was horizontal, it was perfectly elastic, but because it's vertical, it's perfectly inelastic demand curve. What it basically means is that no matter what we change the price, the quantity demanded will always remain the same. It's like for your medication. You don't change your medication because of the price. You will continue consuming it because you need it to survive. Okay. Let's go to the next question. Accounting profit is equals to total revenue less total explicit costs. That is actually the answer. Total revenue less total explicit cost. Remember, we talked about this in the last question paper, where we said economic profit, total revenue less total costs. But accounting profit is total revenue less the total explicit costs only. If you subtract the explicit costs only, you get your what? Your total revenue. Therefore, your answer is going to be A over here. Total revenue less total explicit costs for 14. Then for 15, when marginal product increases, okay. All right. So we go back to the what? To the nice little diagrams. Nice little diagrams. So I'm sure you've seen these diagrams. You've got your your total product, and then you've got your average product, right? And then you've got your marginal product, which is usually something like this. So this is your what? Your MP, your marginal product. And then this is equals to your what? Your TP, your total product. And then this one over here is equals to your what? To your AP, your average product, your average product. So when marginal product increases, total product increases. That's correct. Average product is decreasing. That's incorrect. All of the above, that's incorrect. None of the above, that is incorrect. So you see here your marginal product. As your marginal product is increasing, your total product and your average product is increasing. So usually what they will actually ask you is if your marginal product is decreasing, right? Or if your marginal product is less than your average product, what is depending with the average product? Then you already know in your theory that if your marginal product is less than your average product, then the average product is declining. Why? Because the marginal product will intersect the average product curve at the top or at the maximum of the average product. Or your marginal product, when it is negative, your total product will be declining. Therefore, when your marginal product is zero, your total product is at what? Is at its maximum. Okay. So for question number 14, our answer is definitely going to be what? Definitely going to be A, total product is going to increase. Then we go to question number 16. Okay, I think this will be our last question. I think we're out of time now. A firm will close down in the short run if, I think we've already done this, accounting profit is equal to zero, economic profit is equal to zero, normal profit is equal to zero, none of the above. So of all these answers, the one that is very, very wrong is this one. When economic profit, right, is equal to zero, right, we are saying that you are having normal profit. Therefore, you should continue operating as a what? As a business, right? When accounting profit is equal to zero, it actually means that you are making some what? You are making some losses as a what? As a business, right? You're making some losses as a business. My answer here is going to be D. Anyway, I'll just highlight that. My answer here is going to be D. Why? Because we have not been told anything about the average cost curve, right? We've not been told anything about the average cost of the firm. So for Skistin, my answer is going to be D. None of the above. These answers I don't trust them. The A and the C, because we've not been told anything about the what? About the average cost curve. Therefore, I would say my answer is going to be none of the above. Okay, guys. Thank you for coming in today. I don't know if anyone has got any questions. You are free to ask them, but please don't ask me about. All right.
Hi.
Yes.
Can you tell me where the recording will be found?
I will send it to the economics group. I'll send it to the economics group.
Thank you.
I'm sure your friends will direct you once I've sent it in the group. Okay, I'll send it in the group. So like I highlighted, guys, if you have challenges and you know economics can be a very tricky subject. So if you have challenges and you want us to assist you on a one-on-one basis for the exam that you're going to do on Friday, you can inbox me or Jasper as per the numbers that are provided here. We are a very confidential organization, so you can also be very confidential. Don't go around saying VUT is assisting students in exams. No, don't go around saying that. That's just something that we've talked in between us here. So if you need the assistance, the number is on the screen at the moment. You can just take it and you can just inbox me, and then we can talk in terms of how we can assist you on what on Friday, just to make sure that you pass the exam and then you don't carry the subject. Well, it's not nice to just continue carrying forward a subject like economics, but we assure you we'll give you the best of the service that we can give. Then guys, as we close the semester and go into the next semester, we'll always be available. So keep our numbers. If you want us assistance with assignments, inbox us. If you want lessons again next semester, we have several subjects that we do. We have several subjects that we do lessons for that you can contact us for. We are always in the group sending some adverts there. Please, you can just take our numbers and then you can just chat in the inbox and see how we can assist you as a student. I hope you all have a pleasant evening. I will send the recording later tonight in the various groups that you are all in. For those that are doing business mathematics, remember the exam is tomorrow. So if you need me, if you need my assistance, inbox me tonight so we can make an arrangement. For those economics, we can talk tomorrow. There's always tomorrow. So thank you guys for joining in. The number is on the screen. Please have a pleasant
Hi.
evening.
How much do you charge?
We can talk in the inbox. We can talk in the inbox.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.